The date is February 1916, and this small French fortress town is about to become the epicenter of the longest, bloodiest, and most psychologically devastating battle of World War I. So, why Verdun? The answer lies in the cold, calculated strategy of the German High Command. Kaiser Wilhelm and his top general, Erich von Falkenhayn, believed that France's national pride was inseparable from the fortress city of Verdun. Their plan was not to capture it outright, but to force France to defend it at any cost. Their strategy was chillingly simple and utterly brutal: to bleed France white. Verdun was the perfect target. It was a place of immense symbolic importance, surrounded by a ring of powerful forts, and Germany knew France would throw every last soldier into its defense rather than let it fall. This ring of forts, including the mighty Douaumont, Vaux, and Souville, was supposed to be impregnable, but by 1915, a critical error was made. Believing the Western Front had stabilized, French commanders stripped many of these forts of their heavy guns, sending them to other sectors. They disastrously underestimated Verdun's strategic importance. This single mistake would nearly destroy France. On the morning of February 21, 1916, Germany unleashed a doomsday firestorm. For 10 solid hours, a hurricane of steel rained down on the French lines. Over 1 million shells fell on the first day alone. Entire forests vanished into splinters. Villages were literally evaporated from the map. The French trenches were pulverized before the soldiers within them even saw a single German infantryman. The ground churned and boiled, creating a lunar landscape of death. In the chaos, the unthinkable happened. Fort Douaumont, the crown jewel of Verdun's defenses, was captured by a small German patrol without a single shot being fired. The few French defenders inside were isolated and overwhelmed. The news sent a shockwave through France. It was a massive, humiliating blow to French morale. Panic gripped Paris. The government even considered evacuating the capital. It seemed that Verdun, and perhaps all of France, was on the brink of collapse. But in this moment of crisis, one man stepped forward to change the course of the battle. General Philippe Pétain, a master of defense. Pétain immediately restored order, reorganized the broken lines, and stabilized the front. His most critical innovation was the Voie sacrée, the sacred road. This single road became France's lifeline. Day and night, a constant, unbroken stream of trucks moved in both directions, delivering fresh troops, ammunition, food, and supplies while evacuating the wounded. It was a logistical miracle that kept the defense alive. Standing before his exhausted but resolute men, Pétain uttered the 4 words that would become the defiant soul of France: "Ils ne passeront pas." They shall not pass. With that promise, the battle descended into the true hell of trench warfare. Verdun became a place beyond nightmares. The constant shelling turned the earth into a thick, inescapable mud that swallowed men whole. Shell craters filled with rain and blood, drowning the wounded. The artillery bombardment never stopped, 24 hours a day, making sleep impossible and driving soldiers to the edge of insanity. Men used the frozen corpses of their comrades as cover from machine gun fire. Swarms of rats feasted on the dead, and disease was rampant. The air was a toxic cocktail of poison gas, smoke, and the stench of decay. The soldiers gave it a new name: the meat grinder. Amid this horror, incredible acts of heroism took place. At Fort Vaux, a small garrison led by Captain Sylvain Raynal held out for days against overwhelming German attacks. The Germans blasted their way into the fort's dark tunnels, using flamethrowers and poison gas in the claustrophobic corridors. Raynal and his men fought desperately in hand-to-hand combat, but eventually, they ran out of water. Only after his men were completely broken by thirst did Raynal surrender. His bravery was so profound that the German commander who accepted his surrender saluted him in a gesture of ultimate respect. As the battle raged on, France's strategy shifted. Pétain, who favored rotating troops to preserve his army, was replaced by the more aggressive general Nivelle. Nivelle believed in counterattacking. Using new, more effective artillery tactics like the creeping barrage, France began to claw back the ground it had lost. The advance was slow, agonizing, and incredibly costly, measured in meters, not miles. For almost a year, Verdun became a symbol of brutal attritional warfare and national endurance. Both armies bled themselves dry, suffering horrific losses for scraps of unrecognizable land. The battlefield became a wasteland, a skeletal forest of splintered trees and churned earth, populated only by the dead and the dying. It was known as the land of the living dead. Then, in late 1916, a moment of triumph electrified France. In a brilliantly planned assault, French forces retook Fort Douaumont. The psychological impact was immense. Morale surged across France. For Germany, it was a devastating blow. Their army was exhausted, their supplies dwindling, and the harsh winter was destroying their momentum. The tide had finally, decisively, turned. In December 1916, after 300 days of relentless mind-numbing slaughter, the battle finally ended. France held Verdun. Germany's plan to bleed France white had failed, but the victory came at a staggering, almost incomprehensible price. The human cost was apocalyptic. Over 700,000 French and German soldiers were killed, wounded, or went missing. That's an average of 70,000 casualties every single month. On average, a soldier died every minute for 10 straight months. To this day, large parts of the Verdun battlefield remain closed to the public, still littered with millions of unexploded shells, making the ground too dangerous to walk on. Verdun became the ultimate symbol of industrial warfare and human suffering. The legacy of this battle was profound. It shattered an entire generation and forever changed how nations viewed war. It gave birth to the powerful pacifist cry, "Never again," to honor the fallen. France built the Douaumont ossuary, a haunting memorial that holds the mixed, unidentified remains of over 130,000 soldiers, a testament to the anonymous industrial nature of the slaughter. In the end, Verdun did not shape the war, it scarred humanity. France survived the battle, but a generation of its sons never came home.